All right, so we got a question from the Big Red Bear, who says, 9.1 lore question, just speculation. What do you think the odds are that they'll redeem Sylvanas? The deeper down the rabbit hole I've gone, the worse an idea that seems to be. Please, Blizzard, no. Sad frowning face. That is what the Big Red Bear says. Do I think they'll redeem Sylvanas? It's really tricky because anytime you try to give a logical justification for Sylvanas' actions, there's a word, it ends with side. Geno might be the start of that word. And I don't want to play fast and loose with that particular definition, but she did burn a tree. She did burn the capital city of a race down and, try to kill most of them.
Full of civilians, like?
Yeah, full of civilians. Like, she hit a soft target for absolute maximum inhumane damage. For that, Sylvanas is a completely, in my head, completely irredeemable character. And let's say this, if Blizzard think that showing Sylvanas have a little second thought at doing something nasty to Anduin, if they think that comes anywhere close to ever setting her up for a redemption, then they are very, very goddamn confused. The reality is that Sylvanas, what she did to civilians, there is zero way that Sylvanas can ever be a redeemed character. It is simple as that. Arthas had a better justification to purge Stratholme than she did for what she did. And if the lore then is that she was doing that for the greater good, I think we get into strange territory, and it's just a big mess. So Blizzard cannot redeem Sylvanas. The best that they can do is, I think, similar to the best they can do for Arthas, which is some sort of Darth Vader moment where, Darth Vader is by no means absolved for his actions, but at least his final opportunity to do the right thing, he decided to do the right thing. So there is a little bit of a character arc. They can do that with Sylvanas, but in my opinion, Sylvanas has to... The only way for Sylvanas to have not the only way, but one of the ways I think she could have a satisfying end for me that involves her doing something right is for her to choose a true death. To choose the true oblivion that, is what motivated her to do all of these terrible things. To choose that for the greater good. Which would be an acknowledgement that everything she has done has been in the wrong, that she is evil, that she is irredeemable. Sylvanas is a fucking awful character. She's horrible. The shit that Sylvanas has pulled, she can never be in World of Warcraft again as a character. I don't mean this as in, she's a bad character in a way where I'm providing meta commentary. I mean, her herself. She's an awful person. Yeah. She's irredeemable. She has to experience a true death. And frankly, I think that we should never see her again. Because what she has done is so awful. No other faction leader character, I think, reasonably can just have a dialogue with Sylvanas without the correct thing to do to be her death. Of course, this is World of Warcraft. This is a world where, something like a death penalty is a thing, right? Is it a thing? I don't know. But, it's sort of medievally fantasy, whatever. So that's my opinion. Sylvanas can have at best a Darth Vader-y moment, but her fate has to be extremely bad. And she has to choose that extremely bad fate, knowing that it is her final chance to tip the scales in a slightly better direction. There's no way Sylvanas can be redeemed for her actions in a way that would be satisfying to me as a player, because you cannot go and strike a soft target for maximum damage in the way that she did and then be redeemed, right? It's like there's just no way to do that. And it's interesting, being from Northern Ireland, where we there's a lot of people on both sides who did very awful things that involved people dying, and sort of it was an amnesty thing that was what allowed us to move on. But that kind of works when it's like I suppose a clash of peoples, a civil war, which is what it was for us. But the situation Sylvanas it's just pure and simple. She's completely fucking evil. She has to go. Either that, or you know what? I think Sylvanas should, the way that I'd personally do it, I would try to give Sylvanas her chance at redemption to make it look like that's happening, and then I just have Tyrande kill her dead.
That's what I suspect. It's like it's what I, oh god, this is a long time ago. I think this might have been the BlizzCon stream or the one after it, the Q&A stream, where I first kind of laid out what I thought was going to happen, which is I think it will kind of be framed as a redemption ultimately, where she'll likely, like, we'll see her die and she'll return to her true form as an elf, and for like a moment she'll maybe have peace, even if she doesn't, like, you know, it'll be a moment of like, okay, I can breathe. I'm free of this awful, like, chain reaction of absolute nightmare vengeance hell that Arthas and then the jailer has kind of put her through. Not that the jailer's put her through anything as far as we know, but I think we will have Tyrande, I imagine. Tyrande kill her. She's like, I'm an elf, I'm free, yay, happy.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, if she isn't dragged kicking and screaming into whatever form of hell that isn't the Maw, I think everyone's going to be hard done by. And I think it's one of those things where the crime she's committed so bad, you're like, gonna have to find something better than death, because at least that's freedom. Like,
in a way, yeah.
Yeah, that's what she tried to do that after Arthas died and didn't get what she wanted. Sure, she doesn't want that now, but she did want that. So it's a case of it's real, like, burning down an entire tree full of people is the worst thing she did. But that's like at the bottom of a very long list of horrible things that all started from her. And it's not even like a super justified thing. She got killed by Arthas and she's just mad about it ever since.
Yeah, and it's also the intent.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, in the real world, you know, things, militarily speaking, have been done that are, you know, gruesome and horrible and extreme. And there can be an intent behind that that can be used as a justification for that. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that it is a justification for that, but that would be some of the thinking that would happen, right? Yeah. As in, you know, the nuclear bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were not, you know, put down for... There was... The people who were involved in that had their reasonings for doing it, and there's a very interesting discussion to be had here where, you know, do you say that intent matters or not?
Does the end justify the means?
Yeah, so this is getting into extremely deep stuff, and it's always very important to say that, you know, we're talking about these real world things. That's very much knowing that sometimes I just feel that it does a disservice and almost a disrespect by default to the real world lives lost and horrible events that have happened in the world. Yeah. But I think it's something we bring up because clearly there are inspirations drawn from history that make into the lore of the game. Yeah,
it's the underlying moral questions at the bottom of all. It is does the end justify the means is kind of part of that a little bit.
Yeah, so Sylvanas did not burn Teldrassil to preemptively end a war.
Yeah.
That was her cover story to her people. She as a character did that so that she could cause absolute maximum death to go into the Maw, and then to start a war that would cause maximum death that would then feed the Maw. Sylvanas is almost more... She's almost... Is she more evil than Arthas as a Death Knight? You can at least say that Arthas has got a mitigating factor.
Arthas has got a mitigating factor
the domination
in the domination stuff, where, you know, he can't be completely held accountable for some of his actions. That's true. Sylvanas is accountable for everything she's done.
Yeah.
Because, this reminds me, I actually had a very, very long conversation about this very idea with my roommate, or housemate, Dickie, because it was about, I can't even remember now. But it's essentially, no matter what bad thing happens to a person, that's not justification for whatever thing bad they do next. Sylvanas has always had the choice to do what she does, and she's always made that choice, as opposed to Arthas. And her choice has been, like, you could maybe argue if she was an entity of death that believed in death as the true thing and was like, death's not a problem, you're going to the other side, no worries, then you could maybe get a tiny bit of justification. But she's an elf from Azeroth who grew up with all of the same moral values, all of the same cultural understanding of death bad, probably not a good thing. and then she went and committed it anyway. And then it's worse when you think, okay, so they're going to the Maw, and what awaits them in the Maw is actual just nightmarish torture.
Yeah.
It is literally like, I'm just going to send everybody to hell for the greater good. You're like, did you try to work out a better way? Did you sit down with like Tyrande and go, hello, I'm gonna have to sacrifice all your people, but here's why. Here's a good reason. It's a case where she just did what she did what she thought was right, or probably thought was right, but it was, no matter what way you look at it, it was a horrible thing.
Yeah.
And the end doesn't justify the means.
I hope the Blizzard developers can maybe separate themselves from any big attachments they have to these characters and actually treat the story with the logical respect that it deserves. And that is that Sylvanas is like, she is the greatest war criminal in Warcraft.
Yeah.
I do not see a way Sylvanas can be redeemed for what she's done. It's basically as simple as that. Like,
she can do the right thing, but
yeah, it's just, I think it's just that, you know, even versus in Ner'zhul trying to claim other worlds for the Horde so that his people could live, with the Sylvanas stuff, it's like the amount of cruelty that she uses canonically and how Blizzard consistently show her enjoying the cruelty and reveling in the cruelty.
Yeah.
Like, Sylvanas is as bad a person as you can get in her current state. She just needs to be... It's going to be hard to punish her enough for the awful deeds she has done.
Yeah.
So hopefully Tyrande... Okay, hopefully what happens... I'll say this. Hopefully they try to give Sylvanas her Darth Vader moment, but I think Tyrande comes in and basically it's like, you think the Maw's bad? I am sending you to the domain of the Night Warrior. You deserve this. And, you know?
It's like... ultimately it could, like, the way to really do that people would feel, I think, is go for the Illidan Sargeras situation, where it's like, oh yeah, Illidan's the jailer for Sargeras, how ironic, but obviously you don't know the power dynamic there. It's not like Illidan's kicking his head in over and over again. But with this case, if Tyrande is like, all right, me and you, Sylvanas, we're gonna go fight for 10,000 years, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you that whole time, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. It's like, that kind of thing is what I think we need. We need to see that for any of it to feel even vaguely.
Like, Molten Phoenix here says, worst war criminal than Garrosh. Yeah.
I mean, what was
she burned a soft target to the ground that was full of civilians.
Yeah.
Like, even in scale, way worse than Garrosh.
Yeah. He did awful things, and his justification for it was essentially, you know, Horde supremacy.
Yeah.
And even Orc supremacy, which is kind of just not the done thing, basically. But I mean, even Theramore was a military target, right? I don't know if it was civilian or if it was...
There's a lot of civvies there.
But
that said, it is nowhere near as big as...
I
mean, principally very bad, but it's nowhere near as big as Teldrassil.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as big.
So that is our opinions on Sylvanas. Suffice to say, you know, it's all just from a perspective of, if you logically look at the things that she's done, they are really bad, and remembering that she reveled in doing those awful things. So that's Sylvanas. So we got a follow-up from the Big Red Bear, who said, just as a follow-up, Sylvanas is closer to Gul'dan than Arthas. Arthas is monstrous, but you can at least argue Arthas was manipulated by Frostmourne and the Helm. Sylvanas had freedom way longer. I think that's fair enough. Like, Gul'dan... if only we could show them what we've recently done that involves Gul'dan.
Yeah, that would be
There's
beautiful.
some really, you know, it's in the R&D stage. We're making big video series, and you know, Gul'dan factored into it for a little bit.
Very cool.
It looks very cool. You'll love it. But yeah, basically fair enough. Sylvanas has had way more freedom than Arthas, and for longer, so she is just more culpable.
Yeah,
especially when you consider that a bunch of the Lich King atrocities done by Arthas were when he was under the Helm of Domination's control.
Yep, it's like he made like one bad decision that led to like another bad decision, and then, you know, he's less culpable after Frostmourne, and then not culpable or almost not culpable after the Helm. So I was like, one step, two step, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Versus Sylvanas, who's making every step going, oh, I know everything I'm doing the whole time.
Yeah.
Look at all of these people I'm